What's up, Raider Nation? I want you to just vent, baby. I want you to think of the Raiders Report to be that outlet where you can get all of those frustrations out because I hear you. I went home last night upset. I went to bed last night ticked off. I woke up this morning still angry, and I need a place where I can vent all of my frustrations. So hit that subscribe button and just know that you can vent with me and all of Raider Nation every single day here on the Raiders Report. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Before we get into our Overreaction Monday video, if the Raiders aren't stressful enough, I know the holidays also can cause a lot of stress as well. And major shout out to today's sponsor, Butcherbox, for just trying to take a little bit of that weight off your shoulders. Because with your first order by going to butcherbox.com/NFL Daily, we're going to hook you guys up with a 10 to 14 pound free turkey. So even if you got a lot of stress because the Raiders are driving you insane, just knowing that that's not going to be quite on your plate. The turkey will be, but not that extra stress. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to go over the 3 top trending topics that I see out there on social media. We're going to talk about Josh McDaniels. We're going to talk about Mark Davis. We're going to talk about this coaching staff because this is going to be a video where I'm not going to point the finger at any players, but I might throw up a middle one at some of the coaches. Let's go to the first thing here, overreaction. Josh McDaniels should be fired. I just feel like a broken record at this standpoint, and I don't like to sit up here and say I told you so, but I tried telling everyone for a very long time that McDaniels is never going to work. He's never going to be a good head coach in the NFL. He's a smart offensive mind. Yeah, that's coming from me. But when you can't be a leader of men, you're never going to be able to coach any kind of team sport. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. So the fact that McDaniels is 13-23 as a head coach, it's almost laughable. I look at McDaniels' face right now, and it makes me laugh. That's how angry I am at him. Las Vegas has blown 3 leads of at least 17 points. The Raiders are either playing without a heart or they don't want to play for McDaniels. I'll let you guys decide down in the comments which is the bigger issue there, because I look at that game against New Orleans, and I sit there and I'm like, how can you not cross midfield, lose 24-0? Cool. Now next week, this week against the Jags, you're up 17-0 again, a spot that you have been in multiple times this season. You go into halftime up 20-10, and it was literally like from the start, from the returning kickoff that came out of the third quarter, it was kind of like, oh shit, this is really going to happen again. Like, if I were to show you these 3 games, Raiders up 20-0 over Arizona, 7 minutes, 33 seconds ago in the third quarter. Raiders up 17-0 over the Chiefs. Raiders up 17-0 over the Jags. The only one that I'll give you a pass on is Kansas City because they are the Chiefs. They have Patrick Mahomes. They're one of the best NFL teams right now in the league. But blowing a 17-point lead to the Jags, blowing a 20-point lead to Arizona, I mean, this team should be at the absolute worst 4-4. If you had no head coach, I honestly believe that you would be 4-4 right now. Field Yates wanted to chime in on social media. The Raiders have now lost 3 games with a lead of at least 17 points this season. That's tied for the record for the most such losses by any team in a single season in NFL history. Y'all, we are halfway through the season. Like, really almost not even. Raiders are 8 games in. You got 9 more to go. 9 more to go, and we've already set a record. Like, the fact that this Raiders organization has a lot of pride. The Raiders are one of the best franchises in all of sports because of, I think, everything that they did getting the NFL to where they are now. Al Davis is one of the greatest owners of all time, and you can't tell me that he's not turning over in his grave looking at the fact that from 1990 to 2001, or 1960 to 2001, the Raiders blew 5. 1960 to 2021, what did I say? Yeah? Exactly. I'm still just effed up here. So 1960 to 2021, 5 blown leads of 17 points. In 2022, you already have 3. You're already on pace to break that. That's insane to me. So what I want you guys to do here is name a coach that you believe is better than Josh McDaniels. Head coach, assistant coach, Pee-wee football coach, I don't care who it is. Name a better head coach than Josh McDaniels. I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's show. Now, if you move on from McDaniels, you're probably not going to go out and hire somebody else. Unfortunately, you're probably going to promote from within, and you're going to look for an interim replacement, and then at the end of the season, you go out and you find somebody else. I have the top 5 interim replacements ranked here. I personally would go with Carmen Bricillo, the offensive line coach, at number 1. I probably would have put Patrick Graham up, but Patrick Graham has been really bad thus far. I still think that he might be the most qualified to be the interim head coach, but he hasn't really given me too much confidence in his abilities to coach this Raiders team. Antonio Pierce, because I think the Raiders would be able to connect with him really well. Mick Lombardi is an OC due to coaching experience. And then I'll go with the guy who's got the most coaching experience on the Raiders roster. It's Edgar Bennet, the wide receiver coach with over 30 years. Now I'm going to get into some more names here in terms of who you could potentially replace McDaniels if Mark Davis had the stones to fire him at the end of the season. Before I do that, though, again, a major shout-out to today's sponsor, Butcherbox. And you guys can go get an amazing offer where we're hooking you guys up with a free 10 to 14-pound turkey if you get started by going to butcherbox.com/NFL Daily. Now, Butcherbox, I love them because they're going to take the guesswork out of finding high-quality meat and seafood that you can trust. 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, pork raised crate-free, and wild-caught seafood. Personally, I like hearing that kind of stuff because I've been trying to take care of my body a little bit more. I mean, you guys see what Jeremy and I do to our bodies on Sunday. I at least got to try to eat halfway decent. So the main course for Thanksgiving dinner, the holiday dinners, it can be a very big stress, no doubt about it. Well, not anymore because ButcherBox is offering our listeners here at the Raiders Report free turkey with their first order. Sign up today at butcherbox.com/NFL Daily. Use code NFL Daily to get one 10 to 14-pound turkey for free on your first box. That's butcherbox.com/NFL Daily and use code NFL Daily to claim this deal. Now, I'm going to put all those links for you guys in the comments and in the description of today's video. I'm excited for the holidays, and I hope that you all know that you can still have a good time even if the Raiders are losing here. Let's go to the next story here, Overreaction Monday. Mark Davis deserves blame too. Yeah, abso-freaking-lutely he does. For just win babies. When you think of an organization, a company, a family household, it starts at the top. If your children are acting up in school, it's probably because mom and dad are doing some bad stuff. If you're running the company and you got a bunch of nitwits in the copy room, it's probably because the CEO doesn't know what he's doing. If you're running the football team and you got a bunch of players that aren't playing, you got a coach that's got his thumb up his ass, it's probably because your owner doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Nobody wanted the Raiders to hire Josh McDaniels. You go back, look at all the beat reporters. Nobody was covering the McDaniels thing. Why? Because everybody from within that Raiders organization wanted to go a different direction. And by you sitting here and not firing McDaniels, that allows a losing mindset. That tells your players that, hey, we're going to choose this clown over you. And Dave Ziegler, he also deserves a lot of blame. He absolutely does. Now, I promised you guys that I would show you some other McDaniels replacements, and I'm hoping Mark Davis sees this video and he's like, wait a minute, I don't want the blame. Well, guess what, Mark? You can admit that you did wrong. You know how you do that? You fire McDaniels, say, you know what? That's on me. That's on me, because there are a lot of other candidates out there that would do a much better job. Sean Payton would be my number 1 guy I'd call. Brian Flores is number 2 on my list for the simple reason of you can get rid of McDaniels and still keep Dave Ziegler if that's the route that you want because of their ties together in New England. Number 3 on my list, I would have DeMeco Ryans, would absolutely give him a call. Kellen Moore would be somebody I'd pick up the phone and give a ring to. And Rich Bisaccia. I would pick up the phone and call Rich Bisaccia and say, hey, man, is there any way we get you back, though? If I'm Bisaccia, I don't know if I want to come back to Las Vegas. And I think later on in the week, I'm going to do a more extensive video on some more coaching candidates that I would rather have than McDaniels, because if Davis would have listened to me, Brian Daboll was number 1, Harbaugh was number 2. Look how those coaches have done this season. Yeah. Exactly. Now, this is what Vic Tafur said, and this is where I'm going to kind of point my finger here at Ziegler, because before the Jags game, this is coming off a 24-0 loss to the Saints where you didn't even cross midfield with your starting offense. Ziegler said that he's been really impressed with the job Josh McDaniels has done. At 2-5, now 2-6, your leadership gets tested, and I have been really impressed with how he's handled that. When Dave Ziegler is just shitting out cupcakes and saying that everything is just rainbows, butterflies, and unicorns in Las Vegas land, it's a circus. The Raiders right now are soft at the very, very top from your ownership standpoint, from your general manager standpoint. from your head coaching standpoint, from your quarterback standpoint. This team is as soft as it gets. And I'm glad that Jeremy changed the color to this purple that reminds me of Barney. Realistically, I would rather our team just watch Barney on Sundays instead of going out there onto the football field, because what I've seen the past 2 weeks, it's honestly laughable. So who's with me? Are the Raiders just the softest team that you have ever seen put that shield on, that rep the silver and black? I really wish Al was still around to just go chew out every single one of those people in the front office, Dave Ziegler, Josh McDaniels, because I know for a fact Al Davis would have never stood for everything that's happening this season. Let's go to the next Overreaction Monday topic here. The Raiders are the worst coach team in the NFL right now. Yes, they are. You can't tell me otherwise. The Raiders, to me, were a playoff team last season. Did they overachieve? Yes. But you know what? You still made the playoffs. You put almost any other head coach with this Raiders team, I think they're 4-4 at the absolute worst. 4-4 at the absolute worst. And week 9, I can think of 5 examples where you're just like, here's proof. No second half adjustments whatsoever. The Raiders got it rolling 17-0. The Jags made a few adjustments then. The Raiders just said, you know what? We're just going to try to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again on defense, not change anything. And then offense, when you did try to flip the script, it was already too late. You lost all of the momentum. You stopped targeting Davante Adams. Did Davante have a bad drop in the second half? Yes, he did. But how can you dominate the first half on offense? Adams, 9 targets, 9 catches, 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. Adams ended the game with 10 catches for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't have an answer for that. And realistically, Adams didn't have an answer for it either. He talked after the game, and you could see his frustration. And this is what Adams had to say after the Jaguars' 27-20 loss. The way we attacked in the first half was working to a certain extent. I feel like we got away from that and started playing the game a little different. And that's not the way we've got to do it. But at the end of the day, if I'm rolling in certain situations like that, or if the pass game is something that is helping us move the ball and win games, then obviously that's the idea. You want to stick with what's working. We did a decent enough job to still put ourselves in a decent position moving into the second half, and then we just basically fell apart. I don't even know how else to even characterize it, but it's frustrating. Ain't no way we should be losing games at the rate we are, let alone the way we are. And over the middle at the end of the game, I've got to make a play on that ball. So Adams realizes, you know what, that one play, it's on me. Davante doesn't flat out call out McDaniels. He doesn't flat out call the coaches. But look at the quotes and then the body language. Go back and watch Adams. He didn't just say our coaches suck, but he kind of did just say our team's a lot better than where we are right now, and we're losing games because our coaching staff is just despicable. Patrick Graham, you deserve a lot of blame. I was excited when the Raiders hired Graham, and Graham can be a good defensive coordinator. The issue has always been when Graham sets his defense, he doesn't change it. Yeah, sure. They put in some man. They put in some zone. Cool. But you stopped totally blitzing. And then what you did was when the Raiders' offense couldn't get it working, I think it was like 5 or 6 drives where the Raiders did nothing, you still went with your bend but don't break defense. The bend but don't break defense can work when you have a lot of depth, and it can work when your offense sustains drives. But when your defense is out there sucking wind and you still try to do this bend but don't break defense, your defense gets beat. And that's what happened. Jags got going. The Raiders' offense couldn't do anything. And it was score after score after score after score. And all of a sudden, it's 24-20. Graham, make an adjustment. I mean, how can you sit up here and tell me that you're going to play Anthony Averett over Sam Webb? I get what the Raiders tried to do. They tried to put Anthony Averett in, and he has been bad since coming back from IR. I thought, you know what? Maybe he's just not in football shape. I don't know if it's the hair that reminds me of Damon Arnett or the play, but both of them right now are not good whatsoever. So the fact that you kept on putting Anthony Averett out in those situations to get beat on clutch third downs and touchdown drives, put in Sam Webb. He deserved to play. That's just a simple characterization of how bad this defense is. And then here is the perfect example of what do we always say? The Raiders coaching staff overcomplicates the simple. Probably one of the biggest plays in the entire game. It's 3rd down and 4. You're trying to get that offense off the field. And you know what the Raiders do with Max Crosby? They don't bring him after the quarterback. They drop him into coverage. Imagine paying a defensive end $98 million. Imagine having an edge rusher like Max Crosby next to all those other schmucks on the defensive line, and you drop him into coverage. You want to know just dumb 101, bad coaching 101? Dropping Max Crosby into coverage on 3rd down and 4 is arguably one of the dumbest things that I have ever seen a coaching staff do. And then Derek Carr, you got to give Derek a little bit of credit here, because usually DC is the guy that goes up there and says what you want him to say. Well, here's what he had to say after the game. There's a lot I want to say, but if I'm honest, I don't need to say it here. There are things that will be said internally, things in-house that we'll talk about man-to-man and all that kind of stuff that could be addressed. DC was ticked off. There's no other way you can look at it. DC was ticked off after that game, and he has every right to be ticked off. He didn't play bad. Did he choke at the end of the game? Couldn't really pick up sustaining drives? Yes. I'm not going to all put that on Carr, though. This is a game where you got to look at that coaching staff and you got to laugh at the coaching staff and be like, I can't even call you head coach Josh McDaniels. As far as I'm concerned, you're just Josh to me. You're just Patrick to me. I don't have answers. But what really would frustrate me is, Carr, is everything that you've done for this organization, and I get it. He hasn't won anything. But he has done a lot for this Raiders organization. And for the media, the Raiders, whoever it was, they cut his live show while he was still talking. Maybe they were nervous he was going to say something, but to me, that's just downright disrespectful to your franchise quarterback, where you literally cut off the live stream while he's talking. That's just straight up disrespectful. Now, a lot of the quotes, a lot of the stuff I already put out on social media, and I want you guys to interact with me a little bit more on Twitter, on Instagram, MitchellRentz365. I'm also going to be doing a live show on Locals today to help vent just a little bit more, so you can also hit me up there at RaidersReport.locals.com. This is how I'm going to end this show, because I've had enough with the clown that they call McDaniels. Only 3 teams in NFL history have lost 3 games in a season that they led by 17 or more points. The other 2 are the 2020 Chargers, led by Anthony Lynn, the 2003 Falcons, led by Dan Reeves. Both head coaches were fired after the season. So, Mark Davis, I'm going to look you in the eyes here. Hopefully you watch this show. You probably don't. But you got to make a choice here. The Colts, they just fired their head coach, Frank Reich. Matt Roll's already been fired this season. If you came on the show last week and you said, hey, we are sticking with Josh McDaniels for the long term, I still think that there is time for you to just admit that you made the wrong hire. It's okay. People make mistakes. But to just go out there and continue to say that you're going to do the same thing over and over and over again, it is a spit in the face of every person that buys Raiders tickets. It's a spit in the face of everybody who's ever worn a Raiders jersey. It's a spit in the face of anybody that shows love for this team. And I'm not going to say what I was going to say there, because it's probably not the right thing to do. But all I'm saying is you can fix it. You can fix it. Do it for Raider Nation. I also believe Al would have wanted the same thing. Al would have never stood for what Josh McDaniels has done to this team. It's a laughingstock. The Raiders right now are the laughingstock of the NFL because of Josh McDaniels, and you have the opportunity to change that. So all we ask is please fire Josh McDaniels.